Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect for you.
All right, boys. What's going on? We got another episode of Doggin' It, lunchtime edition for me out on the Pacific time. How about you, Melina? Where are you at?
I'm in your time zone, and I it's always rough being 2 hours behind of what I'm used to. My whole routine is just completely shot always. But I'm
That's
having
my
a good
whole
Sacramento?
life right
Yeah. Here in
No,
Sacramento.
it really, any trip I make to Vegas, that
Yeah,
2 hour difference is
yes.
like flying overseas for some reason.
It
Just
wrecks me, right, Mike? Every damn time. It never fails.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And then just when I start to get acclimated and start the new schedule 2 hours behind, then I head back home, and then it's
Yeah.
and then I'm done again. So yeah.
Boo hoo, boo hoo.
Boo-hoo.
Right.
I'm constantly traveling between these time zones and making it work. Okay, so you
Well,
get no
but it's
sympathy here.
different.
I wouldn't
A lot
call it
of your-
making it work. I'd call it disappearing for a long
Hosting the
time.
show.
So you're right.
But
Yeah.
a lot of your trips are 1 day, right?
Mine?
Yeah.
No. So typically for work, I'll leave on a Monday evening, get back on a Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
So a couple days. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm actually tomorrow. I got the day off, and I was just telling Melina I'm driving to Texas. It's a long story, has to do with my wife's birthday, but I can't believe I decided to do it.
Why is it that whenever I'm going to your area, you're getting further away from me?
Well, you're 12 hours away from me right now, so you're not in my area. But
I'm closer than what I was.
I'm going to Round Rock tomorrow. So
nice.
You're driving to Austin from Phoenix?
Yeah, it's like 15, 16 hours. So
good luck, pal.
But
that's what I usually do on my day off. I drive to like the Dakotas or something.
Yeah. Well, we're going to drive out there, and then over the weekend, we're going to fly to Florida from Texas and celebrate my wife's 40th birthday with her whole family. So
very nice.
Yeah, I threw her a little surprise party Saturday night here in town, and Dog did, of course. She knew all about it.
Did she really?
I think she did. Yeah, she's like, it was a great surprise, but it's kind of surprise.
Yeah. Oh, look, all my friends are here.
Yeah, but over the weekend I wasn't feeling great, especially Sunday, and gave me a chance to actually watch pool. So I watched the final, and where did Melina go? He bounced out. Anyway, watched the final, and what a final it was. I thought that going into it, just from the looks of things, Filler was going to be really tough to beat. I mean, he had dominated. Looking at his score line from the whole event, he had really been dominant, really wasn't tested much. And, I don't know about you, Panozzo, but that might have played a role in how that final shook out, right? He had somebody firing back at him, and, wasn't able to take control of that match.
I think it took so long for him to actually get an opportunity. I think he had an opportunity in like the first rack or whatever, but by the time he got to the table, he knew Kachi was on cruise control, and it was going to be tough to catch. But yeah, I mean, but they both played like that in the latter stages of the tournament. I mean, Kachi steamrolled Shane, Kachi steamrolled Sky, Filler steamrolled Ko.
Yeah.
So it's they were both high octane later on in that tournament. I mean, Little Ko had a shot at Kachi. I think he was tied 7-7 and at the table.
Mm-hmm.
But the Ko brothers had great tournaments too. They both played really, really well. So there were some really great performances. There were some guys who were, forget the break, the tight pockets and the break rule. There were guys who were steamrolling.
Just seeing the way these events are shaken out this year, it really gives me even more respect for what Francisco pulled off last year with the way that he played and winning so many events and being right there at the end of so many events. It's really remarkable if you think about it, because, he goes and plays Sky, and Sky's playing really well. And, but I'm like, man, this is going to be a powerhouse matchup. And Sky takes it. Sky just kind of runs away with it. Francisco, in his acknowledgement of it online, was like, hey, finished here in the event. Great job by Sky Woodward. And so these guys at the top echelon of the game, they know how close it is, right? It's just a matter of, a few shots difference here and there. And this year, we're seeing other players kind of rise to the occasion, including Kachi and Josh Filler. And Kachi's playing so good, Mike. He really is.
No, he's just, you see him coming like that, and you just think, I don't see how someone can beat him. Just because he just, he's got that, he's like a tank coming at you and you're trying to hold it back. It's just not going to happen. And, Josh, to me, and going into the final, for Josh to have a shot was to get out to a lead, get nice and loose, and do that run around the table Josh stuff. But that wasn't happening. Kachi was, controlling the racks. He's so, methodical going through racks. He just looks like he's going to figure out, no matter what happens, he's going to figure it out.
Yeah, he looks like he's never going to miss. What's up?
Yeah, he does.
What did I miss, boys? Fill me in.
To the show.
What are you guys talking about?
We threw you under the bus.
Show's over. Thanks for joining.
The Golden Girls over here having all the fun without me.
No, we were just kind of mentioning how, Kachi was just so strong in the later stages of that tournament. Looked like he would never miss, just playing phenomenal pool. And, we were just kind of going back and forth on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's looking like it's going to be tough to keep off Mosconi, that's for sure.
Isn't that what someone said, right? In the final 16, Mike? I'm trying to remember who that was. Maybe it was a final 8. I'm trying to remember
Master Chalk. Master Chalk. That's Molina's new nickname.
Who picked Kachi and Filler to make it to the final?
He picked Kachi and Filler
just to go straight through.
I told you, listen, look,
watching this guy out in Vegas, I told you his game looked completely different. It wasn't just his break; it was his execution, it was his jumping, it was his safety play, it was his 3-rail kicks. I mean, you name it, the guy had it all. And I know after the semifinal of Josh and Copigny, nobody expected Josh to get ran over the way that he did to Co. Well, that's what Kachi did to him. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, there were a lot of one-sided matches late in that tournament where one guy just caught the gear and the other guy had no shot. It seemed like there was more than normal of that.
Well, listening to the commentary of the finals, having someone like Josh Filler, so accomplished, play somebody who's won a couple other events, I thought that this would be really lopsided. But that's what I want to talk about. When Molina texted me this morning,
there was a roll up right there.
Oh man, I'm really fired up about this because it's one of those things where we can talk about other entities and successes in other formats and other tournaments, and it really doesn't do anything to your product. In fact, it could even help it. Imagine if Rafael Nadal was playing at Wimbledon after winning X amount of French Open titles, and they're just like, yeah, he's won a few other tournaments, but nothing here at Wimbledon yet, hasn't won Wimbledon yet. And then he wins it. It really takes away, I think, from it. And, I'm a huge Matchroom fan, but at the same time, I have to call it out. I have to say it is really not good that they don't recognize the fact that this guy is a 2-time world 10-ball champion. That this guy has won major events before. In fact, he just won one a couple months ago. And you're not even going to mention that because it's a different format, maybe run by a different promoter. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't get it.
I'm wondering whether it's not as much a different promoter as it is a different game, right? So you're talking about Nadal never having won Wimbledon. Okay, so if Nadal had won the French, the U.S. Open, the Australian, and had never won Wimbledon, that would be a talking point. Not that you're discrediting the other wins, but that would be a talking point, right? Okay, Kachi has never won, never done really well on a Matchroom stage. That's a talking point. and if your whole brand is selling a particular game, I can see that you're not going to give a lot of airtime to another game. It's not, it's still tennis with Nadal. So they would mention the French, they would mention
Well,
Australia.
not
So,
just that, but
and
those are
I'm not,
majors within the same sport, though. Within the same, it's all the same in tennis. It's a little bit different.
it is, yeah. Tennis is tennis. The game
Right.
doesn't change from one major to the next, right? So I'm not condoning it because I posted about it as well. I didn't like.
I know
that
both
they
of you
were
hags had
acting
the same perspective. It seemed like.
well, and the point is this: it made it sound like this guy has never won before.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I didn't watch post-match interview. Did someone walk up to him and say, "So, congratulations on winning your first ever major"? What would Kachi have said? He would have looked at the guy like he had third eye in his head.
Well,
now,
look at his
you
post.
say
Though.
it's
You
the
can
first
tell how
time
he
you've won on the matchroom stage. Different story. It's a different angle, right? But don't discredit what the guy's done in the past as a two-time world champion.
Yes.
Okay, so
I don't think it's so much discrediting as they're just going out of their way not to mention it. They're not knocking that. They're not knocking that accomplishment, overtly or publicly. They're just going out of their way not to mention it. I think there's a little bit. There's a bit of.
I don't think there's much
of
difference there.
Yeah, Melina.
No, I mean you're not saying that it's
by your absence.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing. We're trying to get people who've never watched pool to watch pool, right?
Okay, but if you're
is that going to grow the sport?
Time out. If you're starting with that, then their position is going to be, we're interested in the game of 9-ball. We're not interested in bringing in fans and confusing them or whatever on different disciplines. Their position has always been, and they've made no bones about it. They're not switching sides, going back and forth about it. They're in the business of 9-ball pool, period.
Okay, so let's take that, right? You tune in for the first time and you're watching this match and they're talking about the two players and you get the feeling that one guy is this awesome, incredible pool player with all of these accolades and the other guy maybe won the American Legion tournament last Thursday night. It's like, what's going to keep you tuned in longer? That or saying, no, this guy's a two-time U.S. Open 10-ball or two-time world 10-ball champion. It's a little bit different than 9-ball, but it's still rotation pool. And this guy's won all these matchroom events. To me, that second one is a lot more exciting, interesting, and I'm going to want to stay and watch that because now we got a clash of the Titans. Whereas the way it was billed, as they were talking about it, was like, yeah, he's won a few things, but he's playing Josh Filler, who is really accomplished on this stage.
Now, Todd Nevers brought up a point that I was going to make, and I mentioned this one before, is that, they had no trouble talking about snooker player accomplishments. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's not their 9-ball brand either.
Great point.
So it's just.
Isn't that what I told Joey on the phone? Were you on that call? Because I'm pretty sure I mentioned it to Joey whenever we talked earlier.
I haven't talked to you in a month.
So, but they snooker is one of their brands as well. So it's not that they're
right. Yeah. Because Matchroom is in the snooker business.
Right. So it is about brands. It apparently more than it is about the games. It is about competitors more than it is about the game. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah, but you're not putting like a blanket, statement over all cue sports. You're saying, snooker is one thing. They have a vested interest in snooker versus pool, which has a million different options. They're not, they brought up other things within that week as well. I heard them mention, Shane's going deep in New Orleans. I don't know if they mentioned the word one pocket in particular, but they did kind of dance around that one. It wasn't that they were just ignoring 10-ball per se. At least the part that I heard.
Joey Morales says, "Do we mention Cue It Up podcast?" We mentioned that a number of times in our shows. We mentioned Cue It Up.
No, Joey don't. Joey don't. Joey always gives me the look. Joey always gives me the look when Cue It Up is brought up. No, I'm kidding. No. If there's something to bring up, we're not going to go out of our way not to.
No, we mentioned Nate. We mentioned Cue It Up, but we also mentioned if Mark White does an interview, he just did one with Christina Tkach. We'll mention that. We mentioned, all kinds of online platforms where people talk about pool because for us, it's about growing pool. It's about getting more people excited and interested
in apples and oranges argument,
pool.
But
but still, it's interesting to debate. But look, I was looking for a good comparison because you guys are right. Panozzo, you're right about how you have the different discipline, right? You have 9-ball and 10-ball. So they can always say, well, we're promoting 9-ball. We're not promoting
Right.
10-ball. So I was thinking about another sport where you could find a similar comparison. It's hard because you don't find like,
yeah.
in this it's baseball where we use a ball that's this big and then, we change the size ball for a different type of baseball. It doesn't really happen that way, right? But I was thinking about it like this. What if the Kentucky Derby champion enters into the Breeders' Cup Sprint, right? So you have, what is it, 1.25 miles for the Kentucky Derby and it's 6 furlongs for the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Would they not mention that that's the Kentucky Derby champion? Yes, they would. 100%. Right? Even though it's a
All horse
completely
racing.
different race and you're not into horse racing, Melina? You don't know about that? Sorry, I grew up
Furlongs
a couple miles from
when I hear
Pembroke.
furlongs, I think about Mr. Furley from Three's Company. I don't know.
Somebody in here can get that analogy.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It's different in pool because there are different promoters for different, games. So, but to me, I don't know, boxing. There are various, not just divisions, but various world title organizations in boxing. Right? They never said that this guy didn't win the WCB,
right.
whatever
That's actually a pretty
acronyms
interesting
were for-
comparison because I could think of UFC when you had
as a
guys
former fighter.
that you had guys coming from the old WEC and they would mention that he had a championship in in that promotion as well. So I can kind of see it. It's a shame that like of all the things that it comes across a little petty, but. I don't know.
It
but
came across petty because the announcer
reality is they go out and listen. There's history there between these two promoters. Whether one wants to say we take the high road or not, or we're we're willing to acknowledge them, but they're not willing to acknowledge us. Listen, everyone can do things how they want to do it when it's their stage. I feel like, if you're gonna have sour grapes about it, it's at what line does it stop, right? Because if you're going to mention, let's say Federer, for example, right? They can go on and say, well, Federer hasn't won a whole lot of things, right? He's won a world 9-ball championship, but on a matchroom stage, he really hasn't won a whole lot of things. So would you be upset that they didn't announce that he won whatever, the Virginia Open or whatever tournament that he won in the last 12 months? No, I mean, it's their promotion at the end of the day. They can do with it as they please. At least that's how I see it.
Of course they can. Of course they can. But my issue was that the announcer, Michael McMullen, kept hammering this home.
Yeah.
Kept hammering it home.
And Carl did too.
Fine.
To be fair.
Just don't beat it to death. Don't keep making it sound like this guy's never won something. 2 world championships. There are a lot of guys in that field who haven't won one. Okay, so
Mike, it's so amazing that you of all people have this argument because for the longest time you mentioned that the World Championship was just another tournament. It's there's nothing pristine about it. The World Championship is just another tournament. All of a sudden, now it has some cachet.
It's a major. It's definitely a major.
I'm just saying, there's a little irony here, Mike. That's all I'm saying.
So, I mean, it just they're big titles. I mean, they're WPA World Championships.
Look, let's go back. Let's go back, right? When Kachi was deep in the Whirlpool Masters. Okay, Matt Poland brings it up here. Mark White put out he was upset, right? They didn't mention the fact that he won the World 10-ball. But Carl actually replied to that post and said, hey, if anybody likes this, then unfollow me or whatever. And Carl was like, we did mention it. And they did.
They did.
Once or twice.
And Mark was a little more tilt than we were in mentioning this, I think.
Yeah, but once or twice they did mention that he won the World 10-ball at the Whirlpool Masters.
Right.
Now there was a definite decision that you will not mention that because it was not mentioned at all. It was like, yeah, he's won a couple other things.
Right.
So I think that's the part that's like, hey, we're starting to go the wrong way.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool if you could mention the fact, yeah, there's another discipline out there. It's called 10-ball. He won a world championship in 10-ball, but we're 9-ball. And he's never won one of these big 9-ball events that we put on. That's fine.
That's
but
legit.
So if you went out of your way to explain all of that in the middle of a broadcast, you'd be fine with it? There wouldn't be people bitching about that too? Is that what you're saying?
I said to my wife, I'm sitting there with her, we're watching the finals. And I said, if you weren't married to me, if you didn't know anything about pool, would you watch this? And she said, no. And I said, what would make you watch this? She said a little more explanation about what's going on, something that lays out how hard the game is because they make it look easy. You know, more detail about what's happening. And that's the problem, right? Jeremy and Carl are the best you can get. They're the best people out there at explaining the game, but still they explain the game to pool players.
Right.
You know, we need people to explain the game. So I think, yes, Mike,
Yeah, but I think
more
Carl does a good job
explanation
of
is
being
better.
more colorful and in breaking it down for the layman.
A little
that-
more.
say that
Yeah.
again?
Kyle definitely does a little more of that than
Right.
Jeremy does.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even still with that,
Yeah.
we still need more explanation if you want people who don't watch the game to watch the game. So yeah, I'm fine with them explaining. There's another game. It's called 10 ball. It's got an extra ball in there.
I would
We're
go
playing
on a
9 ball.
limb. I would go out on a limb and say that their response would be, listen, we're not trying to confuse the small audience that we do get in that's brand new, right? With all these different disciplines. We are in the 9 ball business. That's what we're focusing on. That's what we're pushing, you know? And I think it does get a little awkward when you go out of your way not to mention it.
Yeah.
But if they don't, you know, and I think that's where the bigger, you know, that's where this issue all stems from. It's like you're
Right.
trying not to, you know?
It is.
And listen, though, and I'm with you guys on this. If you want to talk about billing a fight or promoting a fight, listen, how sexier would it have been to say it's a final of 2 world champions? You know, we got
Titans
2.
of the game.
We have 2 world champions battling it out.
Yep.
You know,
Right. That's
right,
all you have to say. You don't even
know,
have to say
that's
what the
it.
hell his other world championship was, but don't act like he's never won a freaking tournament before.
yeah,
Yeah.
They're not. Listen, they're not going to, like Mike said, have a parade for winning the UK Open. With all due respect, you know, I'm just saying.
I'm not
I
sure.
am
if
in-
anyone won the world
I am in
championship.
agreement
Think about
there.
it. When Francisco won the World 8 ball, that's even a bigger one to mention because anybody who's going to tune in, who's picked up a pool cue in their life, started with a game of 8 ball, right? But it's like that game doesn't exist anymore anyway, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. I just feel like by promoting the other disciplines that are out there, when they have achievements, when the players that are playing have achievements, you're not hurting your brand.
I wouldn't go as far as say promoting, but
Mentioning.
it's okay to acknowledge. You know,
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey,
I think
because
it's- I think it's
look at
respect.
Kachi's post. Look at Kachi's Facebook post. What does he lead with when his accomplishments? World 10 ball, World Pool Masters second, and then I got, you know, in the championship, or I won the championship of the UK Open.
Oh,
You
I
know?
bet you that put him on tilt.
The-
He already got a
Well,
message from Emily on that
yeah.
one.
It's just kind of respect for the players. You know, it's don't give the guy his credit.
Yeah.
It helps his own fan base. It helps him draw fans. It helps him. Don't make him sound like he just got off the boat.
Yeah.
And so, I think you owe it to the players. You don't have to, do a whole big dissertation on all these other games or championship, whatever. But don't make the guy sound like he's a rookie.
Okay, let's switch gears here a little bit. Clenti Kachi is probably the most interesting guy in pool. He's like the most mysterious man to me.
Don't start kissing his ass now.
No,
because
I'm
you know we're
not.
gonna get him on.
I'm not.
Hey, don't
coming
do
on?
not. Mike, you want to be the one? We're supposed
we
to have
getting
him
him
on next
on?
couple days. Not today, but we are getting him on. Yeah.
No, but
Yeah, I
like
get
you
you.
know, like the most interesting man in the world commercials. It's that kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of this guy. He's so
Well,
interesting to me.
that's
Hold
the
on,
thing
he
I
might be
wanna
the most
talk to him about.
uninteresting guy with his personality. You don't say more than 5 words.
Well, no. But
No?
That's what makes him
I'm trying
interesting.
to understand him. I'm trying to peel back the layers of the onion here. You know, early in the tournament, so many people are like criticizing him because he's got ball in hand. He tries a 5-rail shot against his opponent when he's
Yeah,
handling
what
the
was
weight
that?
of the back.
there was a lot of strong opinions.
Yeah.
What was that
Kachi.
about? I never really got a full explanation of that.
I don't
Hey,
know,
listen,
but it
That's
seems
bad.
The
like
guys
it was,
the guys coming on the show, boys. We can ask him directly what it was all about. We can clear the air here by having straight from the horse's mouth.
yeah.
Just saying.
Well, I think we should, but it's kind of interesting, right? Was it pure arrogance, like watch me do some fancy shot against you and
What-
disrespect for his opponent?
What else could you attribute it to, Joey?
Well, then I
Having
did
seen
hear a
having
theory.
seen the video, what else?
Well, I did
could you
hear a
attribute?
theory that I don't know. I guess he felt like that the guy, what was it? Did the guy hang the ball and maybe it should have went or something? And so he just did that as kind of a way to maybe give the guy a chance. I don't know. But either way, it's kind of interpreted as maybe disrespectful or whatever. And then you get to the end of the tournament. You got people who are like, I don't like that he didn't jump on the table. It seemed like he wasn't even happy to win. And then you got people who now he's earned their respect.
Oh my
back,
God.
saying,
People are so
I love
brutal.
the way
They
he handled it.
complain
Whoa, I'm talking here.
They
I
complain
love
if
the
he
way
jumps
he
on the
handled it.
table.
Huh?
Well,
They
we've
complain
talked
if he
about
does, if he doesn't. They complain about it.
Well, that's what I mean. But he's an interesting dude.
You need to have these different personalities in pool. You want to have the guys who jump on the table, and you want to have the guys like, I would like to see a little more emotion out of him, just because I'd like to. I mean, it's one thing that I want to talk to him about is, you're the guy we all admire and he's a super cool dude, but nobody knows what
y'all are
this guy's really like. No one knows what he's really about because he doesn't do interviews often. He doesn't say a lot. He doesn't show a lot of emotion at the table. But he's not disinterested. He's a high, he's a very motivated competitor. So that's a really interesting dynamic. But my guess is we're not going to get a whole hell of a lot out of him on that either.
I think his post just shows how competitive he is. Whenever he doesn't do well, because he expects, such a high standard from himself. That's what I would argue. And he kind of mentioned it post match interview when Carl and Emily were speaking to him, and he said, "Listen, if it was closer, if it was, if Josh was nipping at his heels, if it was Hill, if it was, 12-9, 12-10, 12-11, and it was an emotional,
Right.
get across the finish line kind of victory, it'd be one thing. But he was in complete control from 4-all. So
yeah, I mean, he could have been showing respect for Josh by not, doing a dance on his grave.
The irony in that is that people talk so much crap about Josh and all of his emotion and antics and yelling and yes, and it's like, then you get the guy who just, hey, I got it, appreciate you, come back next year.
I like that. Now, do I
my
agree
direct
with
deposit
Panozzo
number?
Yeah, all right.
Look,
I agree with wire information, right?
I agree with Panozzo that it's more exciting when the guy gets all riled up at the end. But if I were to win that title, that's exactly how I would be. I was never the type of person that when I succeeded to fist pump or yell and scream.
Is that what happened at the
That
expo?
title, you would have fallen flat on your face.
Is that what happened at the expo? Is what I want to know. Is that what she did during the run?
So when I beat Jason Klatt at the expo that year, I got on that
That's
really
how-
good run. I just shook his
heard that.
hand and I handled it with dignity. But seriously, my dad taught me early on. He's like, hey, if you do something great, if you score a goal, act like you've been there. Walter Payton style, just flip the football back and act like you've been there. And so I was never one to get all riled up. Now, looking at where we are as a sport and where we are in terms of television and, getting fans and people excited for it and seeing what's happened in other sports that have now grown in popularity, I think we do need some of that. In fact, like the thing that came up after the last tournament with all the apologies, and we saw it a few times in this tournament, of course, when somebody lucks in a ball and they kind of apologize or lucks into a safety, let's get rid of that. Let's get it a little more like adversarial, like, yeah, I just got you there, to me, that would be better for the sport, but I can totally see why Kachi handled the victory that way. And that's how I would choose to handle the victory as well. But I do think he gained a lot of respect from that. I think a lot of people saw that and said, oh, Josh Filler's about to go down and he's the one that rips our heart out every Mosconi. Kachi's going to be like, yeah. And he's just like, good match, so
Again, I think go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think it's typical Kachi. This is just what he does. He did the same thing at the World 10 Ball. He did the same thing in any other, event that he goes deep in or he wins, and this is just, you say you want to get to know the guy. I think that's who he is, and for better or worse, he's going to be who he is no matter where he's at. He doesn't have a whole lot of emotion.
To me, it's about like, okay, where did that come from? How did that evolve? How you end up with that persona. And I don't mind that he's like that at all, because I think the sport needs this real
it's the yin and the yang, and that's what the final was.
A bunch of those in sport, because there's going to be people who love Kachi for not jumping on a table, and there's going to be people who love, Filler for jumping on a table, and there's going to everybody's got to have, everybody's different, so they want different people to root for. right? So there's tons of Kachi fans out
He's
there.
jumped on the
Come on.
table at the Mosconi Cup before.
Hey, I got a question.
Kachi jumps on the table. We got issues.
I got
That table may buckle.
bring out the levelers.
It better be braced. That's all I'm
Hey,
saying.
I got a question. Those two players playing a race to 50.
Here we go.
Who's your money on, Molina?
What's the game?
9-ball.
I think 9-ball is probably closer, but I was looking up some stats via Fargo before when I was driving to San Antonio, and this isn't the first time Kachi's beaten Josh. In fact, he's had his number since 22. And I only went back.
You beat
that
Josh
far
in the
because,
semifinal at the World 10-ball.
Right, and I only went back that far for the sake of I want to see what their results are lately. Excuse me. So over a couple of different disciplines, Kachi has had his number. No one's going to deny what Josh is, right? And where his ceiling is at, and for what all he's done up until this point. But when you got a guy's number, you got a guy's number. And when
So
you're
answer
playing
the
well,
question.
who would I take in 10-ball? I'm taking Kachi. In 9-ball, I probably still would take Kachi, but there'd be a lot more bet evenly. I feel like,
Yeah.
So,
9-ball, 10-ball
Panozzo?
for sure. 10-ball for sure, Kachi. But yeah, 9-ball. I think I'd probably take Josh because I think he can. At some point in a race to 50, he's going to go on a Josh run.
Yeah.
And blaze through 10 or 11 racks before you look up.
Well, what about a bare knuckles cage fight?
I like you could take
if Josh is able to use his pull cue, then he may have a chance if he gets the first swing in. But if I would see Kachi maybe grabbing the pull cue out of his hand, and then Josh better have some wheels on him because his ass.
Let me tell you about it. You ever have a recurring dream? My recurring nightmare is I'm squared off to fight somebody and I punch him in the face as hard as I can and they just and they look right at me. Okay, I have a feeling that's what would happen if Josh hits Kachi in the head with his pull cue. I think he just go like this and look at him.
Josh is dumb enough to hit Kachi with anything.
Well, let's talk about the final, boys, because Peter Nix brings up a good point. What do you guys make of that one-sided final and the winner break format?
I like winner break. As long as the race is long enough, 13 is fine. I like winner break. I don't want to see a race to 13 alternate break.
What was the final score? 13-5?
Yeah.
Yeah, when it was 12-5, I remember thinking, give Josh a chance.
4. He got to 4, I think.
Or 4. Give Josh a chance because as improbable as it would be, if Josh got back to the table and got on a little bit of a heater, got 2 or 3 racks down, I could have seen this thing getting pretty close. And that's the thing about winter break. You can never say that with alt break. You're not going to say somebody's going to come back from 12-4 down in alt break, but there was still a reason to watch when Kachi got up 10 to, whatever it was. And so that's why I like winter break. But to say that in a long format with tighter pockets, if they're 4.5-inch pockets and it's a race to 5, winter break's not going to be too fun. Right. So,
right.
I mean, listen, you can look at Francisco's run over the last 18 months and find me a match where he hasn't came from behind. I guarantee you there's more where he came from the back end than he did leading from the jump, and that's part of I want to see guys get punished and I want to see guys have a chance to come back. When I'm close to the airport and Kachi was up, whatever it was, like 8 to whatever the scoreline was with Sky. And when Sky finally has a chance, says, is it my turn? I'm thinking, I've no Sky's break. He's, it's not over yet. I know Kachi only has to get to 3, but I don't have that excitement if it's alternate break,
exactly.
And when Kachi wins his, who was it, the World 10-ball, I want to say he came back from like a 5-0 deficit in winter break. So these lopsided scores, I want to see, perfection. I want to see guys play great pool. And listen, that semifinal with Josh and Co was one of the best matches that I've ever seen from start
to finish. It was 11-1.
Exactly.
It was exciting pool because you got to see someone just
dominate, Mike. Just dominate.
Play like the game is supposed to be played for 10 straight racks.
So there's got to be a threshold, right, to where alt break makes sense, and then up to a certain point, now let's have winter break, right?
I
So I'm
think,
thinking like race
think,
to 7 or below,
always, yeah,
alt break.
for sure.
Race to 9 or above.
Well,
Now I can go with winter break.
Yeah.
I can kind of feel that.
Nine's kind
well,
of
they got that in the World Cup
my
pool.
threshold. I can go
Yeah.
either way on 9.
Okay.
But you get above 9, then I want to see winter break for sure.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the switch? Oh, go ahead, Mike.
No. Listen, I love seeing the ebbs and flows. We never get to see Shane win a world championship if it's alternate break, ever. Because there's no way that he beats Mika and comes back from that deficit a couple of years ago if it's alternate break. So I want to see you get, like it's like the old poker saying, a chip in a chair. Give me a chance and let me show you what I can do with it. A lot of these guys with big breaks are always going to be in it. Even when Little Co comes back on Kachi in that match, he never has that return if it's alternating break. It is very difficult, especially with you're using templates and the slickness and all those factors. You're never going to get it on alternate break. And I love watching guys just have a chance whenever they get a window. And for that matter, I want to see their ass sitting down whenever you got a guy just go on a run, because what Josh did was just amazing.
Yeah,
I mean, absolutely amazing.
Do you think we're done with the talk about the wood shaft or the carbon with Josh? Do you think he's proven that he's now adopted the Revo and he's good to go with that?
What do you say, Mike?
I you're talking to a non-player.
I mean, it's tough because I'm looking at that in the final, and I remember Kachi broke away by like 4 games, and Josh comes to the table. He's ice cold. He's got to shoot a ball off the ball's on the rail. He's got to make the ball down the rail with outside English, which is always hard to do, and come across the table. And I look over at my wife and I say, "Man, this is a big shot right here." Because he misses this shot, Kachi gets out again and keeps steamrolling. If he makes this shot, he can change the momentum of the match, and he hits it full, misses the shot, hits it a little too thick, misses the shot. And so the thought in my mind was, does he miss that with the wood shaft? But obviously if you look at his results from this tournament and the way he just steamrolled everybody, he was playing great with that Revo. So
yeah,
I think that if these guys were to play with the broomstick, there'd be a lot of the same cast of characters in the final 8 of a tournament, is all I'm saying. I think they play good no matter what. I think, Josh's no comment earlier in the year when it comes to why he switched back to Revo is telling more of his sponsors than it is to his comfortability, playing with said equipment. That's just my opinion. And, I think there's certain players who listen, look how big Kachi is. You ain't telling that boy what to play with. He's going to play with what he wants, when he wants. He's had success with it. He's got proven results. Josh, by his standard, he wasn't playing the same earlier in the year or maybe even 6 months ago. But now he's comfortable with it. He's having success. He got into the semifinal of the World 10-Ball Championship as well, along with Federer. I think you have guys who can find success with it, and then you have guys who just want to play with what they know and what they're comfortable with. At this point, there's plenty of room for everyone, I feel like. So
did this event we talked earlier in the year about this maybe being Sky Woodward's year to break on the scene and win a major, and he was right there at the end, making it to the semifinal. Does this event do anything to that conversation? You guys feel like he proved that he could get to the final of one of these, win one of these?
We all know that he had the ability to get to it. We just hadn't seen it done. So does this answer all the questions? No. I mean, it's great. And it's, I want to see him go to Spain and have a top 8 finish there, or, in one of the next couple of majors, have a top 8. He doesn't have to win it to me, but he has to show to me that, I mean,
if you were to bet that he makes a final this year of one of what you would classify as a major, where would you put your money? On which side?
The final of a major, well, it's too bad there's a couple of them already in the books, so that kind of cuts the chances. So I would bet no.
Well, let's just say a 12-month period then. That'll even
12-month period. Does Sky reach a final?
Right.
And I'm just betting even money, yes or no. I'm betting no, not because I don't, think Sky can do it.
It's the smarter bet. It's the smarter
There's
bet.
so many good
because
players.
there's
Like
6
we talked-
million great
Right.
players. It's tough to reach the final of any tournament. That's why I say, to
Right.
me, if he goes through a year where he reaches the final 8 in 2, maybe 3, what I consider majors, great freaking year. Then he's in the conversation, in that top 20 player thing for sure, top 15 player thing for sure.
Melina,
you
before
don't think he's a top 20 player?
Yeah, top 20. Well, right now he's not. I mean, he's like 24 or something right now, or 21. But
Are you
but
going
yeah,
by
I
those
do think he's
rankings?
a top 20. But yeah, then you start. If you reach the final 8, 3 times during the year, then you're a top 12 for sure.
I think
No.
Go ahead, Joey.
Melina, when you were struggling with the audio in the beginning, we talked about how with each of these events that come and new players winning the events, spectacular players, it really kind of emphasizes just what a performance FSR put on last year and the run that he got on, right? Because, here he comes in this event and you see his name up against Sky Woodward and you're like, wow, this is going to be a tough one for Sky. Sky cruises right through. And FSR knows it too with his post afterwards, like, congratulations, Sky, you played great.
Yeah, you're
You know
not
what I
much
mean?
you can do about that.
Yeah, exactly. And so the margin of error at the top is just so slim, between winning one of these events and finishing in top 8, it's so small. So I think Sky is knocking on the door. I think this event goes a long way towards his confidence.
What would you say? What would you say about Francisco and where he's trending then? Because
I think he's fine.
He's out
I
of the
really
top
do.
20
I think he's
this year.
fine. I think it's just some of those balls that rolled a certain way for him last
washed
year.
up, right? It's just guys just washed up. Right?
Flash in the pan. It's like Mark. Mark Fidrich.
Yeah.
Look, some of the things that rolled his way last year are just rolling a different way. And you know what? He's the right person to understand that. He's got the right mentality, the amount of positivity that he kind of carries with him.
You're talking about
he's not going to say, he's not going to say, oh, I haven't won a major in 6 months, so now I suck. He's not going to do that. He's going to understand that this is a game that ebbs and flows, right?
And ebbs and flows. I mean, listen, he made the final 8 here, made the final 4 at the World 10 Ball. I mean, this is not like he's having a bad year.
Yeah, it's not time to hit the panic button.
Premier League.
What's that?
He just won Premier League.
He did?
Yeah.
He did.
While he was sick as a dog on top of that.
Yeah.
So.
Not a major.
Allegedly. Yeah.
So let's talk about some of the other players. Can we?
Hold on. Before we transition there, Mike, I want to talk about Sky one more time, and I want to talk about the thing that kind of got everyone pretty riled up, and that was the Marcel incident. And the I'm going to give you a warning, but I'm not giving you a warning, and I'm going to we all know how much of a rhythmic sport that pool is, right? And how mental that it can be. I want to get your guys' take on that whole situation that happened.
Well, I said it before that we need technology in place. This whole business of a human
being.
Meaning
what?
Well, just this whole business of a human being judging the break shot.
So you're saying that's like a miles per hour would be would be that rate then, is what you're saying?
Yep.
Mike?
I mean, I hate to bring that into it because it's
I hate it too.
Okay, yeah,
I'm with you.
I wouldn't be excited about it. Everybody's not watching the balls. They're watching this digital readout that says whether or not it's a good break before you care about what ball's going in. And, it's not going to happen, period, anytime soon, because you can't just introduce it for the last couple matches of a tournament, right? So now what are you going to have 16 tables with?
Wait a minute. There's precedent for that right now. They do that.
There is, and we hate it every time we hate.
Yeah, but I'm sitting there watching the Chris Melling match against, who was it? I remember, but I'm watching them take like 3.5 minutes between every shot.
Yeah.
So, and then you get to the final and now they got 30 seconds. I mean, they're doing that now. Yeah. So when you get to the later stages and you're down to 1 or 2 tables, I don't think there's anything wrong with ensuring that you don't have a situation where, somebody says, oh, that break was not hard enough, in my opinion, type of thing.
It's the old eye test, boys.
But what we complain about is whose eyes.
Listen, there's arbitrary things that happen in every sport. I get that, that the issue that if you're a fan of Sky, why you're passionate about it. But find me a sport where you don't have the human element, right?
There's
A strike
differences
zone.
though, Mike. There's
No,
differences.
there's not.
Like
You can
you
still have
can't
an
play. Hold
arbitrary
on.
pass interference call in football. You can still have a strike zone call in baseball. There's
Listen,
you can
cannot
pick
play a game
sport.
of baseball without an umpire. You can play. I could go out today and I could play.
How? Wait. You're saying you
Hold
can't
on.
play baseball without an umpire? You can literally have the strike zone call strikes and balls, and then you can have video show if they're in or out.
No, but
You know,
my point is, I can go out and I can play 10 different pool matches today against 10 different people without a referee. I can do that, right? That's reasonable. Okay, baseball, you can't do that. You have to have an umpire making those, decisions. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. It's completely different. You can't compare pool to baseball.
It's the argument is technology or the human element. That's where it stands for me. Everybody's strike zone is different. These referees have a different idea as to what is a soft break and what's a forceful break or a forceful bang, whatever the hell he said. And I get, like, for me, this is what I would do, and it may not be so popular, but I don't want to get a warning. I've seen the flop in basketball too many times, and what they do now, you flop, you get teed up, and you're done. It's over with. If you're gonna make the call, have the balls to make the call. Call the foul, get the guy ball in hand, and then live with the repercussions, at least online, as to whether or not you're a favorite in fans' eyes or not. But stand by it though. Don't wish-wash and toe that line back and forth. That's not what referees do. You make a call whether it's popular or not.
Yeah.
Whether
I'm
you
with you on that.
you stand by it.
100%.
You know,
I'm kind of surprised that Marcel did that because he's more of that rigid black-white.
And it's not just listen. I've seen that lady. I can't think of her name right now.
The one who did the final.
Yes. I've seen her, give guys warnings when it comes to forceful breaks as well. And I've seen them do it to Europeans. So it's not just that they're hating on, Americans.
Yeah, no,
Look, technology solves this problem. It doesn't take away from the game in any way. It's like a drag race. If somebody, you see the lights pop up and gone, same thing. You break the balls. And if the ball's between, 19 and 21 miles per hour, maybe it pops up yellow. Like, that's your warning. Okay, keep it over 19 miles per hour. But if it's whatever that miles per hour is, once it's over that, you're good. You play the rec. You don't have to watch things, Panozzo, like focus on that all the time. You just get an alert. Same way you get an alert with the shot clock. I mean, I think you can accomplish that very easy.
Matt Poland said it right. The players quit dicking around. They or if you make an example out of someone, I guarantee you the rest of them are going to fall in line pretty quickly because no one's going to want to give up ball in hand, especially in a winter break tournament. Nobody will, and there's a lot of players, a lot of popular players. Fran was kind of towing that line for my money a little bit during this tournament. Ko Pin-Yi, historically, go back to his Asian Open event that he won last year,
so
notoriously having, a soft break. There's a lot of guys who are like that.
It's just too arbitrary for my liking.
It's like that in any sports, Joe. You can call holding in every NFL, down and that you see on TV. Sometimes it gets called, sometimes it doesn't. It's like that in every sport. The fact it's
how's it like that in tennis?
I'll give you an example. Just this past weekend, in the French, there was a doubles match.
Oh, the girl that hit the girl in the neck?
Hit the girl. They kicked him out.
That's not no.
It's still an arbitrary call.
You hear about that, Panozzo? Like one of the players hit the ball out to the side and hits the girl in the neck and they forfeit.
The poor girl's in tears.
I have the worst analogies. That's definitely worse.
No, I don't think so, man.
No, tennis, the ball's on the line or the ball's not on the line, right? The ball's in, it's on the line, or it's out. Right. And guess what? Guess what they have there now?
But when you're out of
technology,
if you're out of challenges, then what happens, Joey?
They have technology, Mike. The ball lands on the line. How about that?
How about have a challenge and pull then? How about just have the challenge and pull then? Say, you know what? It was not soft, and then you have the MPH test. I'd be doing that.
Yes. Doggin it.
You're gonna give me a foul.
Listen.
Show me the video, son.
Here it is.
Miles per hour.
Here it is. Doggin it comes up with it, right? The opponent gets to decide. They get to have a challenge, maybe 2 per match. And the person breaks the balls. And if the opponent thinks they're
Oh,
soft breaking,
that would create
they
some
throw a
rivalry for
challenge. Hold
sure.
on. They throw a challenge. And if they're right, they pop up the miles per hour. If they're right, they get to take control of the table. But if they're wrong, they lose that challenge.
I
By
like
the
that
way-
just from I like that purely from an excitement standpoint. I want to see someone
Yes.
sit in their chair,
By-
throw a flag across the table.
Yes. And think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it.
You got
How
Oh,
much
God.
more drama are you going to
We
bring to the
just
game?
changed the
right?
game, boys.
Hold
We
on.
just changed the game.
Kachi and
It's
Filler,
exciting.
they're going to be
People fighting.
teammates on Team Europe, but they're going to hate each other because
Yeah.
Kachi threw the flag and
Yeah.
All I
challenged
ask-
2 of Josh's breaks. It's going to be great.
All I ask is that the first challenge, when they implement this, have it be during Mika's match. That's all I ask. Okay, out of everyone, I want it to be during Mika Iminen's match. I want to see the eye roll. And by the way, Doggin it cannot be the official sponsor of the mile per hour because we cannot afford it. So
We'll get
just
our
so that
little
we're clear-
logo on the
just so that way-
flag. It'll be great.
just so that way we're clear on that. Yeah, we can.
Where
So.
every time it's a soft break, they say he dogged it.
You know what? I actually do like that idea. It would create a lot of rivalries and
It
guys
would.
kind of rolling their eyes and guys wanting to mess up rhythms of players and
Yes.
throw the challenge whenever they know it's not, it wasn't a
Yes.
soft break, and I just kind of want to get in your head a little
They do
bit.
that now when
Instead of-
they do that now when they take a.
Well, that's a whole other argument, but I agree with you,
I love this idea.
I
This
think
is
it's
a
a great
great
idea.
idea. Think about it. Emily, I guarantee you, Emily would love this idea. Because
Well, I can
this
tell you
would
one thing.
lead-
'Cause
We
it's
got in a
got
lot of trouble
buzzer
with the
element
first
to
50
it,
minutes.
it's got a
We're good
flag
now.
element to it.
Make sure we clip out this section and show it to Emily. She'd love this because at the post-match interview, it's like, hey, Shane, you were in control of this match at 7-4 and you end up losing 11-7. What happened? Well, that darn, Francisco called a challenge on me. It screwed up my momentum.
I could see a guy like Martin Sawicki with his Bill Belichick cut off sleeves, reach into the sock, throw out the red flag during the Polish match, and there you go, man.
That'd be awesome.
I listen. I kind of like that idea. I'm not gonna lie.
I think it's great.
Yeah, I
2
do.
or 3 per match. You get the challenge. I like
No, 3's too much.
Two's
Three's
Two
way
max.
too much. 3, yeah. I'd say you get you get it back if you mess up the first one. If you lose the first one, you're done for. That's it.
I'm getting a cramp in my neck. I'm
Yeah.
too excited.
You do a show for 50 minutes over the last 4 weeks,
He's
and
just
all of
not
a
in
sudden,
shape.
you're full of muscle.
I'm not in game shape.
Here we go.
Not at all.
Hey, let's talk about the other American who went deep, who kind of caused some waves, following up on his great performance out there in New Orleans. Let's clock Shane Wolford for a little bit, boys, and what he did carrying that red, white, and blue out there in the UK.
Man, what a performance. He was right there. I mean, he was right there deep in this event. I didn't watch it live, but I saw the combination shot where he had, I guess it was
ball
Hill.
in hand in the last rack, and
Yeah, and a lot of people second guessing it and should have done this, should have done that. That shot, it appears as though he just either hit it a little too hard or
that's
didn't
what it
hit.
looked like to me, a little too hard.
Yeah, a little too hard and maybe cut the ball a little more than he wanted to. If it's a little fatter, it probably stays. But I guess the problem is he drew the ball back 4 inches. And so then once that ball came toward the middle of the table, he had no shot, right? So a lot of the second guessing is like, well, he could have just kind of rolled forward a little bit and then had
Nobody
a shot.
misses from the chair. Nobody's ever missed from the chair.
That's true. I
Right.
haven't missed a ball from the chair, but
Yeah,
it's a shame people are focusing on that, right? Because if you go back and look at every shot he hit in that event, I'm sure he had so many amazing
I think
shots.
they're focusing on it because they wanted him to win so much.
Yeah, everybody
More
was
times
pulling
than
for
not,
him.
So and Mike and I talked about this the other day before those rounds when he got to that stage and he got to go up against Mario He, what a big match that was. And now all of a sudden he's in the next round and he's a shot, a rack away from the quarterfinals. So big event for him. He looks comfortable. He didn't look like, he panicked. I mean, he was down 9-6, right?
He was down 9-6. Yep, he was.
Had a shot, had ball in hand in the hill. So great event for him.
Who's not taking that all day, every day,
Yeah, right. And so, we talked about it after the Melling match. I think, just get the guy his jersey now because he should be.
Okay, relax.
I want to see how he does
Relax.
in these next events. Well, no, really. Who do you see
Well, that's
steamrolling
a
the
different
next
that
6
that
months.
He should have been on the team last year. Okay.
That was a coin
No,
flip last year. To
you
me,
could
it's not a
argue,
coin
yeah,
flip.
you could argue that, he disappeared for half the year
Yeah.
last year,
Yes.
Yeah, but still, I mean,
that's what you
like,
can argue.
I
Yeah.
guarantee he thought he should have been picked last year, and a
Of
lot of people
course.
did. And you know what? If Earl comes out and plays great, we're not saying that, but he didn't. And so
If Earl's not a head case, it's a great pick because Earl was up 3-0 on a lot of big guys for Team Europe. Let's just be real about it. He self-imploded.
it wasn't a race of 3, though, Mike.
You're absolutely right. And look, I'm with you in the sense that, these are like these are steps in a career, no matter who you are. Where you have shortcomings and you learn from them. That kid is tough. He stays in the grease. He's playing a lot of big name stuff, in tournaments. Over the last 2 years, he's just continued to do this, and I don't think outside of maybe his core, there were a lot of people who would have picked him to be in that whatever it was final 16 or final 8, whatever it was. So we talk about trends, and that kid's trending the right way. I expect him to be there this December. I'm not crowning him yet, Mike. There's just a bit of a difference there, because if he falls off the map the rest of the year, then come December, no one's gonna remember how tough he played for Tunsky, at the UK Open 6 months ago. Let's just be real about it. So you want to put yourself in the best position possible. He was in it. I hope he continues it. I'll say that. And I think he is. I think his kind of fight is what Team USA needs in order to kind of get closer to crossing that finish line. That I can tell you, I believe. So, but I also am with you. I think it is his to lose, at least right now.
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, to me, it's as much as anything. It's like, okay, we've waited a couple of years. Now it's his time. Now it's time to get some new blood in there, some young blood in there, and start developing them. Maybe he's not 100% ready this year, but he's close enough where I want to get him started this year, going for everything going forward, right? Because he's got that talent, as a young player in the U.S. So,
it's kind of interesting.
That's to me why I say. It's definitely his to lose.
Every year we talk about how tough Team Europe is. Every single year, and if you have Kachi joining that team, what people had already dubbed like the greatest team of all time, with the way he's playing. I mean, that you're gonna need everything you can. I want guys with heart, because you're not gonna you're not gonna be able to compare Americans when it comes to majors or wins or things like that. You want guys who are gonna be able to battle going to 5. That's it. So you got guys who gotta have the stomach for it.
No disrespect to Kachi, but I mean, come on. That team is just amazing, no matter if Kachi's on that team or not. I mean, it doesn't really matter. Now with Kachi, it's going to be, I mean, the team's incredible.
If Kachi continues to dominate the rest of the year, of course it'll be
more.
more.
They all dominate. They're all amazing.
Last year they had
there's a couple of guys on there who don't do a whole lot throughout the year who make that team. Let's just be real. They do great in December.
Like Jason,
they do great in December.
Don't go there.
I'm just saying.
Don't go.
Hey, listen, I'll put it like this. Even Laley says that kid's ready when it comes to Wolford. And I love
this
you,
is
Mike.
What I was gonna say. I think
Alex Laley saying that. I that puts some
Alex was down in New Orleans when.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 2020, but look, I think it's a bit of a misstep from Team USA, from Jeremy, the last couple years, right? Because it seemed like the year Tyler made it, and then the year after, I think Chris made it. It was like there was really an effort to develop the young talent, and then you had the Earl 2-year stint, right, where Earl's picked, but then he can't play, and then Earl's picked again, and you lose that opportunity to develop someone like Shane Wolford, who was right there and competing in all the events. Well, now he's going over to Europe, and he's getting deep in these events, and he's proving that he can beat a Mario He. He's proven he can beat these great players. So, I mean, it's definitely his to lose right now. He's if he doesn't make it on points, I think he's getting picked for sure. He should.
No, I mean, if it ended today, he would be on the team. But you still got a few more months to go, and
you do.
It seems like he's dialed into competing for that spot, and he's certainly going to be in. He's in a good position to make it. So, But there's other events here in the U.S., like the one I'm going to later on this week, where you're gonna have guys like BJ and Lucas, and these other regional players who are gonna come over to California and try to steal some more points. And the fact is, there's a lot of
And
opportunity.
Shane Wolford.
If
Shane
you're
will be
American,
there.
Shane will be here. Yeah. So
I heard he's looking
um,
for action. What do you see? Anything brewing out there?
well, why don't you come over here, Red? You can go jump in the box.
I'm
with
going
me,
to Texas. I told you.
I'm just saying.
No,
Hey,
seriously, anything cooking out there? I know Oscar's place is notorious for getting some.
yeah, there'll be something going on. I'll be over there tonight, so I'll have a better idea. But yeah,
Don't they have some guy named the Roofer or something? They call him, or the plumber,
plays pretty big by the game. One
the
pocket,
drywall guy.
So yeah, drywall guy. Yeah. Right. The tooth. They call him the tooth. No. So the event overall, guys. Let's talk about that for a minute. There were a lot of we talked about the referee and the final. For me, the event overall was just pretty amazing, man. I think that from a quality standpoint, although there were some opinions saying that it might have been a weaker field because of European Championships, and I think you know who you are watching. The field was phenomenal. It shows that
Labutis isn't there. It's not a good field.
I didn't throw out any names, Mike. I'm just saying, But no, what are your guys' thoughts on the event overall and how it went, beginning to end?
Oh yeah, agreed. Great field, great competition, tons of upsets, and also great players being great, which is like, what more could you ask for, right? If you had a tournament where all the best players won all the matches they were supposed to win and no upsets, that would suck. And if you had a tournament where it was only upsets and you didn't have the great players getting deep, that would suck too, Right. And then like we have guys, I don't even know some of these guys, like snooker players, and what was that guy, Gary Wilson or something?
Gary Wilson. Yeah, I mean,
Gary Wilson. I pointed out on a post, I'm like, it sounds like the top shooter in Thursday Night Beer League. Who's this guy? But apparently he's a good player, snooker player.
Oh, he's a top snooker player. I mean, he's the real deal. I mean, and he played great. And it,
Hey, he was in it. He was in it with Fran. He was in it with Fran
for sure. And that one scared me a little bit because I know people disagree with me, but I was like, okay, he's in the round of 16 against Fran. This is when he needs to go. Because the whole experiment of the snooker player is to draw in more fans. And they're saying, more snooker players might come and play. Now, this isn't about adding players. We got enough players, right? This is about adding fans and eyeballs and whatever. So he was drawing in a lot of extra interest from fans who may see him play and say, listen, he and this Lisowski says that these guys are great players and this is a great game and it's tougher than you think, and maybe I'll watch a little bit more. That to me was the experiment. So now all of a sudden, if he gets to this round of 16, he takes out your number one player in the world, then to me, those snooker fans are like, oh, this game is rubbish. Obviously, Gary Wilson doesn't even play, and he beats.
Well, they think that anyway, Mike. That's the problem. They think that anyway, and so I think what we need.
I think that they probably converted some people because they did interview these guys, and these, Lisowski and Gary Wilson. They were both saying, "Listen, these guys are great players. This is a tough game.
I had no idea who that guy was.
And so that's what your message was supposed to be. And I was afraid of that message goes haywire if Wilson beats the number one player in the world.
Well,
luckily, Fran.
I think what would be interesting is if they had some kind of bounty or some kind of extra pot or prize that for a snooker player, if they could go out and win one of these things, right? Try to win one of these things, because the entire snooker community thinks that pool's a joke, right? They think it's a super easy game. Any snooker player that dedicated some time to it would be the best in the world. What if they had that, like some challenge where a snooker player could go and try to win an extra 50,000 or 100,000 by snapping off one of these events? That would be pretty cool.
Anything like that would be fun.
I don't know. I think it'd be fun, but would they be able to do it?
Well, I mean,
I think if you show a guy like Gary going that deep in that event, I think so. I think it's just the beginning.
Yeah, but hold on. Making it to a final 16 and then winning those extra, 3 or 4 matches from there to get there, you're going to have things come into play. Like a good example, the Kachi match against Josh in the final.
Of course. I mean, I'm not saying.
Hold on, he makes the 1-9 combo down the rail. You remember that shot? What a shot that was. all the way. The 9's on the rail. He makes the 1 into the
2-9.
9, spears it all the way down in the corner, and then the very next rack after the break, he's got an off-angle bank on the 1 in the side and gins it right in the side and gets out. Those are the types of things that I think snooker players are not. It's not going to come as easy to them, right?
Right.
Different shots, different strategies. And my point is, when you get to those final few rounds of a big tournament like this, now you have people that you're playing every match that have a tactical advantage over you. Not a skill advantage, not the way you stroke the balls, but a tactical advantage of learning how the game is played, when to play safe, how to bank a ball, when to be aggressive, when not to be aggressive. So I think that's where I don't know that these guys would ever really win one until they were full-time pool players for a year or two.
I mean,
yeah, I agree with that.
I don't think that's breaking news, but I'm with you there. And Fran kind of showed you that, like, a marginal safety game could go and beat one of those guys, because Fran's break completely deserted him towards the end of that tournament, and all he was doing was just putting that guy in tough spots. Like, it wasn't by Fran's standard the toughest of spots, but he put him in spots that guy's not supposed to get out of, and he didn't get out of it. And I feel like that's how Fran won that match, was by playing that tactical game with that guy. So I think it's great for the game. I think the event overall had a great balance of dominating performances. It had a lot of great stories in there, from the Americans to the British players, to at the end we got left with 4 great guys who were in the final 4, and 4 great players with a great break, with a ton of upside, whether they've won a Matchroom tournament or they didn't. We had it all, and everything that came through. I was annoyed, man. I was on a plane during that final, and I was getting like these buffering glimpses of it. But
that's
Kachi,
poor planning on your part.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Southwest's Wi-Fi wasn't worth the fun. But, no, we got really treated to just an amazing event, And I'm even look. There's a lot going on. It's tough for these guys to travel to make some money. I get it, but just from a fan standpoint, it's great to be able to watch these guys compete over and over again. You want to talk about how tough pool is and how how great it is right now. You got guys like Albin and Sanjin who didn't even make the cut. So that's where we're at right now. That's what I think the sport needs as well. You have a lot of young stars who are coming up as well. I think overall, like, it's in a really great place, and I'm pretty excited for the Spanish Open now more than ever.
Yeah, I agree with you. And here's one thing to not forget. So the first 30 minutes or so, we were a little critical of Matchroom, but let's not forget that 3 years ago, there was no UK Open. What, is this the first year of the Spanish Open? I think it is, right?
Yep.
So these events are popping up now that for people like us, it's just amazing, right? We get these great competitive events with large fields and the best players in the world. Super fun time to be following pool, and I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, it's been good stuff. It was a really interesting tournament to me, in that there were so many different faces that were relatively deep in the event. And it was kind of a weird, thing when they redrew into the final 64.
A lot of guys with one losses who were monsters, Mike.
Yeah, a lot of guys on the one loss side who were big names, and so then the redraw really kind of turned the whole tournament upside down, because you had some guys who had some from 64 to 16. You had some pretty, there were matches pretty, Lucatus against Candela, in the finals.
Oh, here we go. Now Mike's anti-Italian. Here we go.
No, I'm not. I'm just saying that, you had a lot of these matchups in the same round where you had Shane playing Kachi.
Yeah.
Things like that. It's like, wow, this is it really, that's what makes for the unpredictability of it. And that's why I think some people were saying, well, if you look at the final 16, it wasn't one of your greater final 16. Well, listen, it's not my fault David L.K. didn't make it.
Listen, you would have said
didn't make it. It's not my fault Sanjin didn't make it.
Yeah.
You would have said the same thing before Sufi became Sufi.
Right.
Nobody knew who he was.
That was one guy. I think if you looked at the final 16 here, half of those 16, you were like, man, I don't see this guy making the 16 in too many tournaments.
Yeah, but I think that's part of why 9-ball can be so great. Even with a tighter equipment and all that, you have guys who can make a name for themselves, and
Yeah.
and play their way into the conversation. We've seen Riku do it on, a Predator stage before. We've seen a guy like Demetrius do it on a Predator stage as well. And now they're making names for themselves on a Matchroom stage, and they're showing that their relevancy is not just in 10-ball. They're great pool players in their own right. Demetrius isn't even going to be on the Greek World Cup of pool team, so
Yeah, we might look at this final 16 in 3 or 4 years, and we might say, "Wow, what a final 16 that was!" When guys like Riku or Demetrius are like, now the names, right?
Moritz,
FSR. When FSR first started getting in quarterfinals, we were probably like, "Who the heck's FSR? Who's this guy? This is like David Alcatey's little cousin or something? What's happening here? And now he's FSR. So."
For the longest time, by the way, I said he was playing better than David. I'm just saying. And I picked both guys that got to the final to get to the final. While and you know what's funny is that every time Mike picks someone and he wins, I get a text message when the 9-ball is going in the hole. My phone goes off saying how great that he is at picking. And then as soon as his guy goes out,
you can turn off alerts.
Mike can't
turn off the alerts on your phone.
Mike can't even respond to a question, at all. So
now I know why David hates you. Okay, got it.
No, I wouldn't. I mean, look, there's a ton of great talent in pool. I love watching these guys play. Whether you're an Albon who goes out before the cut or a Sanjin, it doesn't take away from their greatness. There's always going to be room for guys to make their own, to kind of get some elbow space in the conversation. And I'm hoping that we get more of that on the American side as well, not just on the European side of it. But I mean, listen, there's just so many storylines. We could have had an all-co final.
That would have
like
been
that. That would have been.
I really thought that was pretty close to happening. I mean, they were both playing pretty damn sporty.
Yeah, agreed. I was thinking it was a good possibility we would have that. So
just wait till Team Asia plays Team Europe, Mike. And then you can really just start having your head spin.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
So what does this do to the Mosconi Cup race for Europe? Right, Kachi's number 2 now.
No.
Europe,
is he? I thought it was.
I think Europe's going to have a pretty good team this year. I like to go on record.
They may have a chance to take home the gold. Yeah. Come December.
Yeah, no, Kachi's in second.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
I was looking at the rankings that they had from maybe because Matchroom needs to get their shit together when it comes to this, because it's like I look at the rankings they posted after Jason, right? And they have Jason at whatever he is, and then so that would only put the ones that I have. Hold on, I got the picture of it right here.
Oh, after the Scottish Open?
Yeah, after the Scottish Open. I don't think it was. It may be the overall, but it wasn't like just the year to date. So it's like I get confused as to what they're posting. So they have Jason Shaw as number 4 with 78,000. And they had Kachi would have been at 33,000, number 14. So that would put Kachi with 63,000, and he would be ahead of.
Yeah,
Victor
but that's their 2-year ranking thing.
That's what I'm saying, though. I don't want to see that. I just give me one ranking list to go by, and that's what I want to go by.
Yeah, it's a missed opportunity, because if we see that and we know each event then becomes critically important, looking at the outcome of that event, being able to forecast who's going to be in the top 3, who's not. Yeah.
Okay, so who's your 5 for Europe right now?
Ruiz, Kachi, Shaw would be the automatics.
Okay.
So if Shaw's an automatic, that makes things a little easier for you if you're the captain in terms of picking.
So Josh is 4.
Josh
has to be, no question. You can't don't put me on tilt. Say that Josh is not going to be.
Can't leave Josh off.
Josh is if
Josh could have a broken shooting arm and still make the Mosconi Cup. Okay,
he should for sure. But I'm looking at the race to the Mosconi Cup 1-year list. Josh is not in the top 10. That's not possible.
He just got whatever it was, 20,000 in this event. So what does that put him at?
Yeah, so they must not have updated this. Well, it looks like they updated. Well,
it don't matter. They're blocking us from Matchroom after the way the show started anyway, so it don't matter. We ain't get we never get another interview again.
Yeah, their list is upside down here. Yeah. Their list is out. Race to Mosconi Cup.
Okay, so quit tiptoeing, Panozzo. Quit tiptoeing. Give me a 5th.
Josh and Federer.
Okay. All right. Joey?
Niels.
Wow. Niels? So
Niels.
when the
And you know what? I do want to say one thing.
after the 8-ball. After the 8-ball, you're putting Niels in.
When he missed that shot, I'm sitting there watching it, and I'm telling my wife and kids, this poor family of mine, they got to sit here and listen to me talk about pool. They don't give a crap. But I'm like, look, if he tries to play this 2 rails with like center left, he's gonna miss the shot on these tight pockets. You know, I think he should shoot it with low left, come off the rail and open it up, kind of like the old Corey Deuel shot, if you remember, because you're much more precise when you hit it that way. When you hit it with center, anything can go wrong. You know, that you're judging the English. You got to run the cue ball around. It's so easy to overcut it a little bit. It's exactly what he did on that shot. And I would have so much appreciated a Facebook post from him saying, yeah, I dogged it. Thanks for following. You know, it was a pretty good tournament overall. But instead, he did the messed up tip post. And I'm like,
but during that
like,
messed up tip post, he did say I dogged the 8.
He did, but it's like, look, what pool player do you know comes out and says, I dogged the 8. Thanks for following. See you next week. It never happens. There's got to be at least 3 or 4 excuses in there. And baked into that message was the messed up tip excuse and one other excuse. I forget what it was now, like got out of rhythm or something.
I don't understand. Are you campaigning for him or shitting on him? I don't know what you're doing.
Well,
I'm
a little confused.
I'm confused here. You know, what is it that you're doing?
I'm campaigning for him for Mosconi Cup. But I'm a little down on him for that post. You convinced
me he belongs.
I'm a little down on him for that post.
Way to sell me, buddy. Yeah.
Because that post, I thought he had a good opportunity to just accept it and be like, yeah, I missed that shot. Maybe I should have played it a different way, whatever. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the angle was too much to hit it with that low outside shot. But I'm looking at it and I'm like, he can miss this ball if he tries to run it 2 rails here with like center left. It's a very easy ball to miss. By the way, that was the Melling match, right?
It was, yeah.
What a shot by Melling on the very next shot, you know, because he misses the ball and my wife's like, oh, it's over now. And I'm like, no, it's not. He's got like an 8.5-foot shot on the rail and he's got to run the cue ball around and he ginned it. And you saw him do a little fist pump after he made it.
Yeah, he was pumped.
That was not pumped. Like Chris at all. Chris is not that guy.
But I like, my point in saying all this is I like the way Niels is playing. I think he brings that leadership, you know, the experience to a team like Europe, who's going to have a bunch of the younger guys on the team. Okay.
So whose spot is he taking? Is he taking Josh's spot or Federer's spot? I'm a little confused here.
I mean, look, he's not Josh. No. Josh, you can't take Josh off the team. So I guess I'm going with him over Federer.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you want to talk
I love Federer.
You want to talk about some hot takes. You know, it don't get much hotter than that, buddy.
I love Federer.
You know, Niels over Federer. I'm going to make a flyer and just post it on social media. Joey says Niels over Federer for Mosconi.
How boring would it be if I said Federer?
It would be pretty boring.
Exactly, because Panozzo said Federer, and you're all on Federer's, you know what's. So I'm going to say Niels.
Okay. Who do you think out of those?
Molina's going to say Mario Hean or someplace.
Hey, my lunch break's over. Is this an all-day podcast or something?
No. We're already wrapping it up. Actually, I'm with Mike. Actually, I can't argue with those 5 right now. I can't. And I think you know, Josh for me is going to be an automatic. So is Jason. Kachi right now is on a one-way train getting there. And who's the other one, Mike? That was an automatic. That's an actual automatic.
Fran.
Max Wagner.
Yeah, Fran. Yeah. No. Listen,
somebody sent me a message and said Molina must be really sad because Max and Mario He are both out of the tournament.
Well, who would you have picked? Filler again to win? Knowing you, Mr. Chalk, all day, every day?
Yeah.
This is what Joey says into a group chat today. They asked, well, one of our Patreons, Gabby, asked, you know, hey, who do you guys like in the finals? And Joey comes back this morning and says, sorry, I was out of pocket, but I would have picked Kachi to win it all.
Liar.
Look, we'll see you guys soon. Mike's going to get on Kachi. We're going to follow up and promote that. So stay tuned to Windows Open. What do you got, Joe?
Hey, hit us up on Patreon, patreon.com/doggin it.
Yeah, one of these days, Joey might get back and start recording some questions of the day.
Yeah, we're going to do that.
See ya.
See ya.